Hello and welcome to the Tough Cover Podcast, live at 1 on the Painted Lines. Today, on Saturday, June 5th, I am your host, Mark Henry Jr., and you can give me a follow on Twitter at Mark Henry Jr. _ and you can follow the podcast at Tough Cover Pod, and you can follow the Painted Lines at The Painted Lines on Twitter. And please subscribe wherever you're watching this to The Painted Lines on YouTube or Twitch. On today's show, I have a 3-pack of MLB picks, all of which I absolutely love, and an NBA series bet and a game pick for what is shaping up to be the series of the NBA playoffs with the Milwaukee Bucks against the Brooklyn Nets. And before we get to my bets, please leave your bets in the comments or any picks you may have or any thoughts you may have throughout the show on anything I say or any of my bets, and I'll throw it up on to the screen. Or if you have any thoughts or bets, DM them to me. My DMs are always open. I have a couple DMs from fans that I have put out on the show that have won, and I have one today. So if you have anything that you ever want to give me to give out on the show, hit me on the DMs or leave it in the comments. So it's been a crazy week on Twitter for me, as you guys may have saw, since this is the first podcast since my tweet went crazy. My Sixers tweet about my girlfriend being undefeated at Philadelphia sporting events, which is now around 11,000 favorites. And I got the chance to go on Marks and Reese on WIP, thanks to my guy, Jack Fritz, and talk about it. So I've been a lot more active on my Twitter since I got a bunch of followers from that with gambling and with draft talk and Sixers talk. And I've been doing a ton of polls relating to the NBA and the NBA draft and playoffs, which is always fun. So go check that out. So moving on to betting, we are 11-9, up 18.5 units in June so far on the Tough Cover Podcast, in great part due to our 4-unit Ben Simmons triple-double and win prop at plus 875 from Game 5 against the Wizards, which was huge. So let's get to today's bets. Let's keep it on track. So let's get ready to gamble. At 210, we're going to give my 3 MLB picks up front, and then at the end, I'm going to have a little NBA talk with Bucks Nets talking the series and Game 1. So at 210, I have the Chicago White Sox. You see the hat behind me? I got double socks up there, and you'll see why soon. But I have the Chicago White Sox minus 1.5 at minus 110 versus the Detroit Tigers for 2 units. The White Sox against lefties are absolute money. The White Sox haven't faced Tariq Skubal. I don't know how to say that last name. They have not faced him much, but are literally 6-6 against him in their limited chances. Giolito has only given up 3 home runs in 111 at-bats to the Detroit Tigers offense, and the OPS is around a below-average 700. Not a huge minus 1.5 guy generally, as you guys know if you've followed the Tough Cover Podcast before, but the White Sox are plus 82 in run differential, and the Tigers are a minus 55. So that makes me feel pretty safe in taking that minus 1.5. The Detroit Tigers are averaging 3.6 runs per game, well below league average at 4.32, as opposed to the Detroit Tigers, who average 4.93 runs per game, good for top 5 in the majors. The Tigers have a solid top 3 of their lineup who have been producing in Robbie Grossman, Jonathan Schoop, and Jeimer Candelario, who just had a streak end last night of getting on base. I think it was 26 games in a row, but they are super weak behind that. The Chicago White Sox, on the other hand, have tremendous lineup depth. And if you're a player prop guy, go follow at Josh Karaskikis, who I tweet back and forth with often and is a great follow. He likes Tim Anderson to hit a home run today. And looking at the stats and his reasoning, it's easy to see why. So go check it out. He mashes lefties and specifically mashes the lefty on the mound for the Tigers and specifically mashes the Tigers in general. So the White Sox minus 1.5, and I have a guest pick, Tim Anderson, to hit a home run. So go check out Josh Karaskikis. At 3 o'clock, I have another bet in the MLB, another bet in the American League. I like this one even more. I've got the Houston Astros minus 106 at the Toronto Blue Jays for 3 units. This is just a completely confounding and confusing line to me. The Astros are the better team with the better offense and the better pitcher on the mound with the better and more rested bullpen, coming off of a blowout 13-1 win last night against this very same Toronto team, against this very same Toronto lineup, looking at the lineup from last night and today. I mean, seriously, take a look at this Houston Astros lineup. I know everyone hates the Astros, but Altuve, Correa, Bregman, Jordan, Gurriel, Tucker are as good of a top 6 as any in the league. And it's not even just as simple as that. Taking a look at the batter versus pitcher stats specifically for today, the Blue Jays have very limited experience against Urquidy with 28 at-bats but they only have 5 hits, batting 185 in those limited at-bats, as opposed to the Astros against Ross Stripling, who have limited experience against him with 25 at-bats, but 8 hits, batting 364 against him. This is just the weirdo line of the day. I truly don't get it. I'll go with the cheaters. I don't get why the Astros aren't closer to minus 150, minus 160. I might even look at minus 1.5, but I'm sticking with money line for 3 units. Josh Garaskaikis says, let's go White Sox. I'm happy to see you in here, buddy. I just plugged your Tim Anderson, but I didn't see the odds. If you want to leave them in the comments, you can leave them there. But let's go White Sox. He's part of my White Sox against lefties crew on Twitter. So let's get to my best bet at 7:15. I'm going back to the well. I've got the Boston Red Sox plus 110 at the New York Yankees. Yuck the Fankies. It worked as my best bet yesterday, so I'll go right back to the well today. Red Sox have been the better team this year, especially as of late, and came through for me last night with the game never in doubt. Eduardo Rodriguez is extremely familiar with this Yankees lineup and has had success against him in the past, even though he has struggled a bit as of late. The Yankees lineup has 149 plate appearances against Erod and only bat 240. This is in contrast with the Red Sox, who have only faced Jameson Taillon for 19 at-bats, batting 365 with a 1,300 OPS. The Yankees have lost 8 of their last 11 games, making the least contact in the American League. The Yankees are also hitting .237 against lefties, of which Erod is, which is bottom 10 in the majors, and shockingly up from last year's .226 against lefties, which shows you that the Yankees are truly not set up to hit lefty pitching very well at all. What the Yankees do well, even lately though, is walk. But that doesn't worry me because even with Eduardo Rodriguez and his recent struggles, he has tremendous control and can control his walk rate. So I'll ride with the Boston Red Sox plus 110 at the Yankees as my best bet for 4 units. And then getting to my last play of the day in the NBA. We're keeping this one short today because I only had 4 picks, technically 5. But in the NBA, for a series price, I like the Milwaukee Bucks plus 175 for 3 units against the Nets on the series price, which I've said on Twitter before. I love the Bucks to win this series, and I'll get into some of the reasons why when I talk about Game 1, which I also have Bucks money line plus 160 at the Nets for 1 unit in Game 1. The Bucks won their last 2 matchups of the year against the Nets, albeit without Harden, but I feel way more confidently about the Bucks winning this series than I do about Game 1. But the best way to do that for the Bucks to win the series is to steal home court and get one in Brooklyn, and even more specifically, get Game 1 in Brooklyn. So I thought if I'm so confident in Milwaukee to win the series, and if I've loved the matchups with Drew on Kyrie and Giannis on KD and Middleton as a floater, along with PJ Tucker as a floater, and if I'm confident in Milwaukee to match Brooklyn from 3 like they have all year statistically, I might as well put my money where my mouth is and put a unit on Game 1 since I'll be rooting big time for Milwaukee anyway with that series price. Milwaukee is coming off of a few days of extra rest. And then I just have a brief thought here. Everyone keeps telling me the Bucks series against the Heat was fool's gold. The Bucks fooled me. It's like Pat Bev trick y'all. Everyone keeps saying that the Bucks fooled everyone by sweeping the Heat. They didn't play with their food. I'm supposed to penalize them for that. Then what were the Nets doing with the Celtics then? And what was losing to the Celtics without Jaylen Brown, to a team that is exploding right now and will continue to this offseason? But anyway, I've had this take on liking Milwaukee's matchup with Brooklyn more than anyone else in the league since February when they traded for Harden. If Brooklyn gets by this series, I find it really difficult to believe that they don't win the title. I really think this is the toughest matchup, and if the Nets lose to the Bucks, they'll get clowned. But that's just the price of facing your toughest possible matchup in the second round instead of the conference finals or the NBA finals. And same goes for Milwaukee. The loser of this series will be made fun of, and they'll be the butt of every joke for the NBA. And it'll be nonsense because these are just 2 elite, awesome teams who just so happen to have met up in the second round. So I'm siding with Milwaukee for the series at plus 175 for 3 units, and with Milwaukee money line to win Game 1 for plus 160 for 1 unit. So let's recap my picks of the day before we get out of here and keep it under 10 minutes. I got the White Sox minus 1.5 at minus 110 versus the Tigers at 210 for 2 units. I've got the Houston Astros at minus 106 at the Toronto Blue Jays for 3 units. I have the Boston Red Sox plus 110 at the New York Yankees on Fox for 4 units at 7:15. And I have the Milwaukee Bucks plus 175 on the series price for 3 units, and plus 160 at Brooklyn for game 1 on the money line at 7:30 for 1 unit. So those are my plays of the day, my 4 plays of the day, and then my series price. So thank you guys for listening. Thank you for being a part of the Tough Cover Click. Go follow me on Twitter at Mark Henry Jr. _ Follow the podcast at Tough Cover Pod, and follow the Painted Lines at the Painted Lines on Twitter. Thank you for listening, and enjoy the winners.